In this video, I'm going to show you how I helped somebody called Bartosz go from software engineer to cybersecurity analyst in 4.5 months. I'm going to show you the step-by-step plan that we used to actually get him there. Hi, my name's AJ. I've been cybersecurity for the last 10 years, and on this channel I teach all things cybersecurity for beginners, so let's get into it. Bartosz is somebody who joined my SOC Plus cybersecurity apprenticeship back at the start of January and January 2nd, 2025. As you can see from the initial message that when I reached out to him after joining my community. And just a bit of background, he gave some background to what he's been doing. He's been a part-time front-end developer for about 3 years. He's been hired by companies that makes websites in WordPress. The company mainly consists of back-end PHP developers, but whenever they need some front-end changes, I am the one responsible. For his cybersecurity experience, so he did have an NCFE level 2 certificate in the principles of cybersecurity. That's actually how he actually got sucked into cybersecurity, and everybody has an origin story, and this is kind of the first thing that helped him actually discover this is what he wanted to do. And he also did the Google Cybersecurity Certificate and CompTIA Security Plus. So he had a good fundamental understanding from these three courses and training programs that he did here. And he's also just finished the SOC 1 Try Hack Me level 1 path. We also had a good question about chatting from Wales, because I'm currently from Wales, and he did his postgraduate in Cardiff, and I used to live in Cardiff at the time. So it was a really good connection that we had, that he'd been to Wales, spent a lot of time there, and of course I'm also Welsh as well. So that was his background. So somebody who is technical, but no previous background in cybersecurity except from the certificates and some of the certifications that he's done. And as you can see then on September 16th, this is what when he posted in the community to say that he'd actually landed a job. And we asked him to post in the community, as we do with the other members and students in there, just to show exactly what they actually did. So I can show you the full message in the community. So this is just one of our success stories from the community that we've got. So in here then, he said, over the course of the 4.5 months, so he actually started applying after he'd finished the training and the hands-on projects that we actually provide him. Over the course of the 4.5 months, he did 300 job applications, and he actually landed one interview, but he managed to secure that job from that interview, which was amazing. But as you can see, he actually had to do 300 applications to be able to do that. So as he mentions here, if you have no experience in cybersecurity, it might be a bit trickier, but as he noted, it's not impossible. So the first thing that he saw then is that we provided him with a CV template, and our template has been crafted, and with his experience, what we were able to do is craft it in a way to help it get through to the actual hiring managers and the people that are actually interviewing him. And this is a big part. And he mentions here, using ChatGPT, it can be very creative, but it may try and add experience that you might not have. So that's something to always keep an eye out of when you're using these kind of AI tools. But having a good CV and resume was a good starting point for him. Then LinkedIn, then he mentioned having a solid LinkedIn, and we actually have a training course in here as well, which shows you how to actually apply for jobs through LinkedIn, but also set up your LinkedIn in a way that you can demonstrate your skills. And as you can see here, then I personally recommended him on LinkedIn and provide endorsements. So he can, when he put his skills on there, I also mentioned that I mentioned to him that on LinkedIn that I could endorse these skills. So he had skills for instant response, for example, and then he had somebody like myself who had been working in cybersecurity for 10 years to say, yes, I approve that he has actually learned this skill, and he is somebody that could actually perform this skill as well. He also mentioned that you can add the open to work badge, and he had recruiters reaching out to him, which I think is very, very good. This is something that I've especially done when looking for jobs. Put yourself as open to work. And he also mentioned here then to try and invite other SOC analysts for connections. So these are all the kind of things that we all teach in my apprenticeship as well. I don't know if you are thinking of if you think this kind of apprenticeship is for you, or you just want to jump on a free call with myself or one of the other cybersecurity professionals who are in this community. There is a link in the description. You can apply for one of those calls. It's completely free. We build out a tailored plan for you, and whether you decide to go with us or not, you'll still have a plan to walk away with for landing your first cybersecurity job without any experience. So then point 3, then what Bartosz mentions is networking. So he mentioned networking on LinkedIn, especially showing people his projects. So what we help is actually build out every project that you need to become a cybersecurity professional. A lot of them are tailored towards your kind of cybersecurity analyst role, which is what Bartosz actually secured. But ultimately, these projects in there are what the kind of things that we do on a daily basis as cybersecurity professionals. And ultimately, these are what are actually going to give you the experience and what actually gave Bartosz that experience. He also mentioned that he met up with other community members then, which was really, really cool. And he said that, to put things in perspective, there were around 400 applications for the same position as mine in the same company when they announced the vacancy previously. So he actually continued to apply, even though that these companies were taking on 400 applications. You've got to see that you've got to be in it to win it, and whether it says 400 applications or not, it's important to network. As you can see here, he wrote to one of the SOC managers and arranged a meeting over Google Meet, where he gave me some pointers on certain projects that he should do next, and to let him know if I ever applied for a vacancy in this company. And that's how he actually secured the interview. So this is something that we teach on in our LinkedIn and career course, is how to reach out to hiring managers, and in this case this is what really helped him, and also being able to be in a community where he was able to meet up with other professionals in here as well who had the active and the same goal as him, which was really, really cool. So after he had managed to perform some kind of networking through LinkedIn, reach out to the hiring manager, he managed to land an interview. So he did some interview preparation then. He obviously fed the work description and the job description into ChatGPT and asked it to prepare 150 possible interview questions and long explanations. He mentioned that he also watched Professor Mess's Network Plus course, so that his networking knowledge was also at a decent level. He mentioned a pro tip during the networking phase: try to ask people responsible for hiring what they think is the most important knowledge for a beginner SOC analyst. It's almost guaranteed that questions from these topics will appear on the interview. So that's a really good way to try and figure out what could come up on the interview. You're speaking to the hiring manager, ask them what they think is an important skill, then most likely these are the kind of things that are going to come up in the interview. So then when he actually got into the interview, then he mentioned that there was only one round technical interview. This can all differ depending on the company. Sometimes they'll do 2 rounds of technical interviews, sometimes 3. But in this case, Bartosz had 1 round of technical interviews where he'd been asked 11 questions in the theory part, but mentions he can't remember all of them. But some of the ones he mentioned is: what's a private IP? What is DNS? The port numbers of HTTP, HTTPS, and DNS. He mentioned that the key part of this interview was to speak about the topic in general rather than to answer the question. I told him what is a private IP, what is a public IP, and why we need private IPs. I mentioned the private IP ranges and explained ARP and NAT just to show that I understand the topic. So this is a really key point. So he didn't just reply to the question and just say, oh yeah, port 53 is DNS, and then just left it as that. He went into a bit more explanation about how he understands it, and this is really key. So this will actually most likely would have helped him stand out in the interview, because if there was 400 applicants and maybe they were doing 100, maybe 200 interviews, there's something that just needs to help you stand out, and often being somebody that can just elaborate on a question, or even somebody that you've already spoken to previously that maybe you've got a good bond with. These kind of things are what have clearly helped Bartosz here, which was really, really cool. And he can say, as he says here, replying in depth to questions can show your understanding about the topic. And then he says the second part of the interview was scenario-based questions, where he was shown this. So he was shown Outlook.exe. So this is a process tree. And showing Outlook.exe, opening iExplorer, which is Internet Explorer, opening WinWord, which is Microsoft Word, and then opening the command prompt, and then eventually running a PowerShell command. And he was being asked what this could mean. So these are the different kind of scenario-based questions. So usually what we call them and what we teach in here is technical-based questions and behavioral. The technical-based questions are usually your questions like this, and then your behavioral questions often can be putting you into certain scenarios. These behavioral questions can also be technical as well, which, as you can see here, he was asking him to understand what is actually taking place in this process tree here. And ultimately what it looks like then is that somebody has clicked on a phishing link, and that phishing link has come from Outlook, which likely is from an email, and opened Internet Explorer. It's then tried to execute something in Word, and then it's opened a command prompt and ran a most likely malicious PowerShell command. So it mentions there then for the second question, he was shown an IDS rule and a packet payload. He can't remember the rule exactly, but it was something about SSH banners, and he had to explain what the rule was and why this particular packet fired that particular rule. So the technical questions, they could ask you obviously any technical question, but it's usually always related to the role. So Bartosz went for a cybersecurity analyst role. So these are the kind of things that you're going to be dealing with as a cybersecurity analyst. You're going to be expected to review a process tree, understand what different processes are doing, and then if they've got a IDS, you're going to be expected to analyze IDS rules and possibly even analyze packets as well, network packets, depending on what technology the company is using. So a lot of this you can pull from the job description, and even ask questions to the hiring manager about what they're looking for to try and decipher what could actually come up in the interview. So he mentions once this section was done, he was also asked what he knew about the company I was applying for. So this seems less common these days, but it's still, I think, is quite a key thing to always understand about the company, because if they do ask you what does the company do, then and you don't know, it is going to look quite bad. And if you don't know what the company does, then ultimately how are you going to show that you're actually keen and interested in working for that company? And then he asked for the last section of the interview. He'd been asked for not one but two personal stories showcasing my soft skills, and he'd already prepared 2 stories before the interview. He wasn't sure which one he wanted to use, but problem solved. So soft skills could be name a time where you've worked as a team, name a time where you've been able to communicate effectively, and you often want these stories to kind of relay back to potentially cybersecurity scenarios. They don't always have to. Sometimes it can be quite fun where that isn't the case. So let's say, for example, that you play team sports. So maybe you play football, you play rugby, for example. You could mention that I worked as a team, as a part of a rugby team, kind of showing your extracurriculum activities, but they don't always have to be tech related. But if you do have tech related stories, that can also work as well, but it can also work in your favor where you balance it by not showing your kind of tech related soft skills as well. So and these kind of things again are what can spark interest in further conversations. Oh, you play rugby, oh, you play football, that's really cool. These are the kind of things that can help you stand out. So he said that's more or less everything that helped me land the job and actually get the job. So this is everything that we teach, like in our apprenticeship. This is why we teach it, because it's actually working. This is not the only person in the last 12 months that I've personally helped. If you have a look at my channel, I'll even link a video at the end to kind of walk through somebody else called Georgina, who I recently helped get into cybersecurity without any experience. But I just want you to show that it's possible, and there's some clear, really good pointers here about how Bartosz was able to do it in 4.5 months. And he was also somebody who was really dedicated, really switched on, really interested. He knew this is what he wanted to do, and it was clear from day one when he joined that he was going to secure a job at some point. But he knew that he had to do the work, which was really good to see. So this is some tips from what we teach and what Bartosz has done himself. But what I'm going to show you now is the actual pathway that we take him through. So how we actually helped him, and what I did to help him was guide him through this exact pathway that we create, and it helps to simplify everything. And what you can see here, then you need to build your foundations. So he even mentioned that he did some of his the CompTIA Network Plus content, which was really good to build that foundation. There's also CompTIA Security Plus. He'd already done this. So he had good cybersecurity fundamentals. He also had the Google Cybersecurity certificate. He also had that other level 2 certificate as well. Then what we focused on then is helping him pick a specific job role. For most beginners like Bartosz, cybersecurity analyst or SOC analyst is the way to go, and we just focused on the skills related to the job role. And these are all the skills that we teach, theory and also home projects as well, which I'll get to shortly. But ultimately, we taught him exactly how to be a cybersecurity analyst. Like I said, our apprenticeship, the reason it is an apprenticeship, because it not only gives you on-the-job experience. It actually gives you experience that you can write down on your resume and on your CV to say that you've actually worked for my company, Empirical Training, you've analyzed attacks, you've actually set up your own SIEM, for example, you've done some AI and automation, and this is how it actually helps you get that experience, what a lot of these companies are looking for. So once we taught him the actual skills to focus on, then we showed him the home project, so step-by-step guides on how to set up all of this at home. So he has all of these projects with him. We also have our own live lab where we've got live attacks coming in to the SIEM, and you analyze them just like a cybersecurity analyst would do. But ultimately, there's a mixture here of in-house labs and home projects that gave him the experience then that he was able to put on his CV and on his resume. And like I said, this is the part where you've just got to be consistent. It takes time to apply for jobs. As he mentioned there, he's done 300 job applications, and he was applying for jobs where there was people, they were taking 400 applications, but he's still stuck at it. And ultimately, that's what you need to do. You've got to be consistent here. It takes time. The average amount of time that we've noticed working with myself and with the Empirical Training team has been between 5 and 6 months, but it all depends on how dedicated you're going to be. And people are different. It might take you longer. If it takes you longer to get through some of this content, that's okay, as long as you're getting through it is the main thing. So ultimately then, he's made it to this phase where he's landed the job, and then he's going to then specialize into higher paying roles once he's got experience. But ultimately, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is everything that we teach in our SOC Plus apprenticeship. We give you access to the CompTIA Network Plus content, the labs, Security Plus content and the labs, teach you everything that you need theory-based to be a cybersecurity analyst. Like I said, we teach all of these skills here, give you the home projects, in-house labs, and teach you how to build these at home. And we also teach you how to apply for jobs, set up everything on LinkedIn. So like I said, if this is something that you might be interested in, let's jump on a call. Let's just have a chat. There's no pressure. It's a completely free call. What we do on this call is kind of tailor this plan for you, because a lot of people might not need to start from here. Maybe you couldn't even start from here. I've worked with people who need to start from here, and then they've just got to get to stage 5. But ultimately, this is the pathway that has worked. It's worked for over 10 people now in the last 12 months that we've been working with closely. And this is close mentorship. There's one-to-one sessions. There's everything that you need, really, to get involved. So if you want to find out more about that, link is in the description, and we can chat more about that on one of those calls. But yeah, ultimately this is how we help Bartosz. But I will say one thing, he was the driving factor, and you have to be as well. We can only push you so far. If you're not willing to do the work, then there's no point you coming in and doing our apprenticeship or trying to get into cybersecurity at all. But ultimately Bartosz was dedicated. He's somebody that was clearly interested in cybersecurity and knew what he wanted, and these are the kinds of people that we ultimately want to help. So now you understand how I helped Bartosz go from software engineer to cybersecurity analyst without any previous experience. And now, like I said, if you want to watch another interview with somebody called Georgina, who I helped go from mechanical engineer to information security analyst, I recommend that you go and watch this video next. I want to say thank you for watching. I'll see you over there.